Well, this is news analysis coming to you live on Politics and Business TV Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us on the program for today. I am Bulus Joaneri. The headlines. Presidency pushes back on World Bank's poverty claims. Sanwo-Olu delivers 420 new homes in Badagry in Boost Affordable Housing Drive. Court orders arrest of former INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu over contempt. And on the foreign scene, RSF shelling killing kills 13 civilians sheltering in Sudanese mosque. Details of the stories and more to come shortly after the break. Do stay with us. In a sharp rebuttal to the World Bank's latest economic assessment, the Nigerian presidency has dismissed the report estimating that 139 million Nigerians are living in poverty. Presidential spokesperson Sunday Dare described the figure as unrealistic and lacking proper context, arguing that the global poverty benchmark of $2.15 per day used to derive the estimate does not accurately reflect Nigeria's local economic realities. The presidency emphasized that the report relies on outdated consumption data and overlooks the informal and subsistence economies that sustain millions of households. The government insists that Nigeria is on a path of recovery and inclusive reform, citing expanded welfare programs such as conditional cash transfers and the renewed Hope Rewards Development Program. Another 297 billion naira has reportedly been disbursed to vulnerable families since 2023, with interventions now reaching millions of households nationwide. While acknowledging its partnership with the World Bank, the presidency urged caution against interpreting the poverty figures as a literal headcount, stressing that what truly matters is the trajectory, and according to officials, that trajectory is one of progress. Meanwhile, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has commissioned 420 housing units in Ajara Badagry, marking the 24th housing estate delivered under his administration. The newly inaugurated estate, named after the late Sonny Akinsanya Jose, a former head of service, is part of the state's broader strategy to close the housing gap across income levels. The project generated over 1,300 direct and indirect jobs during construction, with more employment expected through facility management and estate services. Governor Sanwo-Olu also announced the groundbreaking of Phase 2 of the project, which will feature 7-story high-rise buildings aimed at maximizing land use and transforming Badagry's skyline. He emphasized the importance of thoughtful city planning and sustainable development, noting that over 10,000 homes have been delivered across Lagos in the past 6 years. The estate is fully equipped with modern infrastructure, including paved roads, drainage systems, water treatment plants, and electrification, reinforcing the administration's commitment to smart urban growth. In another development, in a dramatic post-tenure twist, the Federal High Court in Osogbo has ordered the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Betokun, to arrest former INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, for contempt of court. The directive stems from a case filed by the Action Alliance, which accused Yakubu and INEC of failing to comply with a judgment mandating the recognition of Adekunle Omoaje as the party's national chairman. Despite INEC's claims of partial compliance, the court found that Omoaje's name was still missing from the commission's portal, prompting the arrest order and a 100,000 naira penalty. The court's ruling has sparked widespread reactions from civil society and political stakeholders, and critics of Yakubu's tenure, including the coalition of united political parties, allege that his leadership will weaken Nigeria's multi-party democracy and marginalize opposition voices. Meanwhile, advocacy groups like Huriwa have urged President Bola Tinubu to avoid appointing a partisan successor, warning that such a move could jeopardize integrity of future elections. Well, you're still watching news analysis right here on Politics and Business Television Abuja. Still to come, federal government ends revenue deductions and vows greater fiscal transparency. Details of this headline and more news content after a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back in on Business Matters. In a sweeping reform aimed at curbing leakages and boosting accountability, the federal government has permanently scrapped deductions for revenue collection costs by key agencies such as the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Nigerian Customs Service, and the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. Finance Minister Wale Edun announced the move during the launch of the October 2025 World Bank Nigeria Development Update, stating that the decision follows a presidential directive to ensure that all funds flow directly into the Federation account without pre-distribution deductions. The reform is part of a broader push to strengthen fiscal governance and ensure that federal, state, and local governments receive more predictable and transparent funding. Edun emphasized that even during the most recent Federation Account Allocation Committee meeting, most deductions were removed once and for all. The government is also reviewing other forms of revenue offsets, including refunds and interventions, to guarantee that every naira collected is efficiently deployed for national development. Another foreign saying tragedy struck in El Fasher, North Darfur, as an artillery attack by Sudan's Parliamentary Rapid Support Forces killed 13 displaced civilians sheltering inside a mosque. Eyewitnesses reported that the strike came from RSF positions north of the city, where the group had recently overrun the Abu Shauk displacement camp. Survivors described scenes of devastation, with 70 families packed inside the mosque when shells landed, killing 13, injuring 20, and reducing parts of the building to rubble. The assault marks one of the fiercest RSF offensives since the war with the Sudanese army erupted in April 2023. And El Fasher, the last major city under army control, has been under siege since May of last year, and the RSF has intensified its campaign with near-daily artillery and drone strikes, reportedly killing hundreds and extorting survivors for safe passage. Humanitarian groups warn that Sudan now faces one of the world's largest hunger and displacement crises, with nearly 25 million people in acute need. Now for sports news, let's join our reporter.
Good day, I'm Tom, and this is your P&B Sports Update. Nigeria's journey at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup has come to an end, and after a tough 4-0 defeat to Argentina in the round of 16 in Chile, Argentina opened the scoring early through Alejo Sarko before Maher Carrizo doubled the lead with a brilliant strike. Two more goals from Carrizo and Mato Silvetti sealed the win, sending the South Americans into the quarterfinals. But despite the loss, Nigeria's Flying Eagles showed flashes of brilliance throughout the tournament and will now look ahead to rebuild for future competitions. And meanwhile, in the NBA, talks continue around the possible new basketball league, dubbed Project B, backed by high-profile investors, including tennis star Novak Djokovic. The league, expected to launch in 2026, aims to create a global basketball brand that could rival the NBA in both men's and women's competitions. And back in the NBA, rumors persist around the future of Giannis Antetokounmpo, with reports suggesting the Milwaukee Bucks star could still consider a move before the new season begins. Well, that's the latest in sports. Nigeria's under-20 bow out. Argentina's march on, and the basketball world basis for major shakeups. I'm Araka Tom. Stay tuned for more updates here on P&B TV.
Welcome back and on to the focus of the day. The 2027 general elections may still be 2 years away, but the political drumbeats are already sounding louder across Nigeria. The African Democratic Congress has declared its readiness not just to contest but to win the next election, insisting that failure is not an option. Speaking during the party's inaugural national meeting, ADC National Chairman Senator David Mark reaffirmed the party's determination to challenge the dominance of the ruling All Progressive Congress and the main opposition, the People's Democratic Party. Senator Mark noted that the party is embarking on an internal restructuring process aimed at strengthening its grassroots presence, building youth participation, and projecting a new vision for Nigeria's democracy. But as we approach another election cycle, key questions arise. Can smaller parties like the ADC truly disrupt Nigeria's political status quo? And what are the odds of achieving meaningful reform within a system often dominated by money politics and incumbency power? As political realignments begin ahead of 2027, it's important to assess what the ADC's declaration really means for Nigeria's political landscape. Will it redefine opposition politics or fade into the usual rhetoric? Well, joining us via WhatsApp call to break it down after a quick break is Honorable Ibrahim A. Waziri, former member of Adamawa State House of Assembly 2003 and 2007, and also former CPC Chairman Adamawa State and former State ex-official APC Adamawa State. Stay with us. welcome back and joining us via WhatsApp call to break down the focus of the day is Honorable Ibrahim A. Waziri, former member of Adamawa State House of Assembly from 2003 to 2007 and also former CPC chairman, Adamawa State, and former state ex-official APC Adamawa State, speaking on ADC, raising the political temperature. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon, sir. Well, the ADC says it will compete and win in 2027. Realistically, how prepared is the party compared to the bigger players, which are APC and PDP?
Well, so far as we are concerned, it's not about which particular party is going to win or who which individual is going to win the election. What is before us now is how do we get out of this quagmire that some people put us in? You can imagine just between 2023 today. Look at the situation in Nigeria. Look at the devaluation of look at problems. Look at the inflation rate. Look at the skyrocketing of prices and a lot of things. So something that are affordable now and beyond many Nigerians. You can imagine. It's not about which political party. It's just about who will come with the right policy that can salvage the situation. That's just it. So when we talk about other agencies prepared to win election or not, all agencies need to do is just come up with good strategy. Not say this, come up with a good economic policy. I will do 1, 2, 3 things within a stipulated time. Whatever you are doing, within the timeline, in the first 6 months, we'll make sure that we stabilize the economy. That is one. Number 2, in the second 6 months, we make sure that we bring down the price of petrol, not through subsidy, but through other means that are available, and we know system is there, instructions are here, but the government doesn't want to use it. So we make sure that we implement those policies, and we make sure that the price of petrol is as low as possible. I don't want to fix it, but from by now thinking about the opportunity, I was thinking as low as 300 naira per liter. I can do that. And other things, look at agriculture. Nigerians, 65 to 85% of Nigerians are farmers. We produce what we eat. The honest issue now, the farmers in Nigeria have become more slave. You can't do anything. How can you buy a bag of fertilizer? Just 50 kids at 65,000 naira per bag. There is a bag of maize as low as 5,000 naira per bag. How can you sell 3 bags of maize to get 1 bag of fertilizer when you need nothing less than 7 bags of fertilizer per hectare? You can imagine. Where can you get that money? How affordable is that? Instead of government, yes, we want government to bring it down, the prices to come down. But the government should buy from the local farmers, not for you to keep foreign farmers at work until your own domestic farmers. So it's a very wrong policy. The government should have buy the food locally because we still have more than enough food stuff all over the country. We're stocked in many warehouses because people cannot break even when they sell the food. They are only doing the food stuff now. That's the issue. So the government needs to do something deliberately, at least to bring out that those farmers have problems there. So another thing, just call like that. You can imagine. The biggest problem with that is the valuation of that's the biggest mistake this government. The valuation of it's the same agency that started in 2015. I don't want to say this one is good about, but the problem is the policies and the programs that people are doing, I think they're just because they're so self-centered. They're only looking at what will come to their pocket. Not the comments of the government or how Nigerians will survive. No, it's how much will come into my pocket. Just like what people were telling us, some people were telling us a long time ago, what was happening in Lagos. It's not a positive thing. Well, by the time you could get it, that issue, and that issue, because Nigeria is not a thing. Nigeria is as large as anything you can think of. I think about 290 million people. Everyone has some way of thinking, everyone way of things. No, it's not. To be honest, we don't do like simple walkover. Anybody that can protest against the current government, especially have to walk over, very simple one. Especially now that the coalition are coming together. By the time the coalition finish whatever they agree and form a very strong, what do you call it, alliance among them. Who will take over government.
Sir, you mentioned some strategies that the ADC could put in place to compete. Senator David Mark emphasized internal reform and grassroots recognition. Do you think these are enough to transform the ADC into a winning force?
Not only enough, it is part of what we're going to do. We're going to do this and many more. Apart from just ensuring internal democracy, ensuring internal reforms, ensuring other programs as we outlined, we have many more things to do. We need to do a lot of things. Individual contact, individual work. Even upstairs, you got a member of the tax, who as a Nigerian concerned citizen, you can come up with it. You give us the blueprint, we work with it, and we deliver. Because by the time you bring in more people, because the politics is the more the merrier. When you bring in many people, I'm sure we'll have a lot of ideas, a lot of ideology, a lot of ways of winning and implementing programs for Nigeria. Because all we're doing, our target is Nigeria and Nigerians. Not any other thing. Not any other thing. And anybody that is selfish, think it's selfish. I'm sure we are not going to work with them. We are sure we will not do the care of it. Or any other. You cannot get of anything. I'm telling you.
Well, sir, Nigeria's elections are heavily influenced by financial muscle and political structures. How can smaller parties overcome this power imbalance?
Well, actually, smaller parties, I think, and let me correct it, ADC is not a small party. That's one thing I want to correct. ADC is not a small party. I was a member of a small party, people, but we got 12.5 million votes. And up to today, apart from President Buhari, late President Muhammadu Buhari was declared with 12.75 million votes. Nobody was declared with that. And this is a figure that we've been consistent with since 2011 to go down to 12.5. In 2015, we got only 12.75. And now you are telling me, go to the one election in 2023 with all the structures, the same APs, and put PDP there, and Labour Party. Nobody got 10 million votes. Nobody got 9 million votes. What happened? Because they're not popular. Nigerians are not happy with them. Nigerians are not willing to vote for them. Because everyone's talking about fuel subsidy. We agree. We need fuel subsidy. We need the removal. We need the subsidy to go. But after the removal of subsidy, what do you do next? How do you cushion the impact of subsidy? That's the issue. You can remove subsidy. You don't need to put any money. All you need to do is to provide alternative source. Provide them with what do you call it? Means of getting the fuel as low as not going to provide the subsidy. So, but unfortunately, this government is not willing to do that. This government is not willing. It's only willing to reach or empower itself to reach their pocket. That's what they have done. That's what they have done. If not, where is the infrastructure that people are talking? This is the third budget of the government. The big thing is supplementary. 24, 25. So where is the project of this government? Where are the project? I've not seen any. To be honest with you, I've not seen any. New one or even completely ongoing. I came from Madam. Look at, there is a road that has been there for quite a very long time, since 2 years. When Buhari came, we started the road again. You like of the road. What is remaining on the road is just less than 7 kilometers. And since the day Buhari left office, up to today, there has never been anything of any increment or any improvement or anything on site to change the what you call the situation on the ground. People are still going through body road to pass and come to the why? Just the whole of Gombe-Yola, what is the distance? Just more than 8 kilometers. And that area is only 27 kilometers maximum. That has that issue. They cannot solve that problem. It's unfortunate. When you tell me you are consulting a super highway, coastal road between Lagos and Calabar. How many cars pass through that? Look at Yola, look at Abuja, Jos, Bauchi, Gombe, Yola, Borno, Yobe, and Taraba. That road, by my calculation, or by our calculation, because we did the research, almost 2.5 million people pass through the road. Almost 2.5 million people. Look at those states. They pass through the road. Their road is still single lane, one lane. Instead of injecting 75% of your annual budget in that road, why can't you come up with maybe 35% of your budget? You can do that road. This one is only 800 kilometers. 800 kilometers down to Yola. You can do it with less than 35% of your budget. But you took over 65% of it there. Just between that, what you call the coastal area. What is the population around that area? What's the population? When you talk about infrastructure, look at the number of people. Look at the number of beneficiaries. Look at the economic value of whatever you're going to do. But you cannot just go and put in just because you have interest. It's not. That's why I said they are very selfish and what you call it, self-centered. They don't do it for the commoners. They don't do it for Nigeria. They do it for their individual pockets. That's the issue.
And so earlier you made mention of some political parties not being voted because they weren't popular. Well, are Nigerians really open to a third force alternative?
Well, something around that force alternative. I think what we had there are about 3 horse races, because we had APC, DVD, Labour Party. Okay, the fourth one is LNP. LNP just go to 3 million votes. But to be honest with you, the 3 horse race was something. That shows that Nigerians are now thinking internally, how do we bring in the person that I want? How can I have an agreement with him? I understand that yes, his politics will favor me, will favor Nigeria, will favor me, make my children to come up and say, yes, my father sacrificed whatever for whatever. But now, this thing will still appear in 2027. I don't know how many people are going to contest. I don't know how many political parties are going to the election. But I am sure, I'm certain that APC and ADC are going to be the front runners. And for anybody to think of anything otherwise than ADC winning this election, I'm sure it's just the same. When you look at the number of people registering into ADC, when you look at the number of the caliber of people that are in ADC now, people that have this structure, in APC, PDP, and even some of the labor structures, the SDP, I do here. I'm sure, madam, 2027 just walk over for us.
Well, finally, so what broader changes must occur in electoral laws and political culture and governance for Nigeria's democracy to give not just ADC but smaller parties a fair chance?
But that one has to go into INEC. INEC should be honest and sincere. Then the second one is the National Assembly to make a law that I think this election should be as hard as possible. Don't be around talking like they're about it, just consider the red paper. We should continue with our PVC and what we call it, card reader. Without this card reader, you can't vote. Without you presenting yourself at the polling, you can't vote. But when you say somebody can vote by proxy, that's automatically. So the best thing is for the National Assembly to come with a new electoral law that yes, everybody has to present themselves with his own voter card, and the electoral is to be verified by the card reader because it takes the ballot paper vote. And the law will automatically be treated within and up to the national level. Because when you vote channel, it's not that they do it normal. It's not a rocket science. It's not a matter. It's not that you can do this, we agree to do this, it's right. Then we'll do the right thing.
Well, thank you so much for your time, sir. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Ibrahim A. Waziri, a former member of the Adamawa State House of Assembly. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Okay.
Well, the ADC's declaration reflects the growing desire among Nigerians for political alternatives. But as history shows, ambition alone isn't enough. Structure, credibility, and consistent grassroots engagement are key. And as the 2027 race begins to take shape, the big question remains, will the ADC emerge as a real contender or just another hopeful voice in Nigeria's crowded political arena? And that's our focus for today. And that wraps up today's program. But before we go, the headlines again. The presidency pushes back on World Bank's poverty claims. And Sanwo-Olu delivers 420 new homes in Badagry and boosts affordable housing.